The Civil Service Mains Examination 2022 has started today. The first paper, the essay paper, offers an interesting set of questions. Unlike last year, this time the question seems to be a bit more concrete. Let's look into the choices. Section A. The first question says, forests are the best case studies for economic excellence. Now, that's an interesting take. We haven't got any environmental questions in the last couple of years. This one talks about the importance of forest in the economic development, as well as it gives a perspective of how forests act as a perfect example of economic excellence. So one need to explore into the different aspects of forestry, the different forest producers and how it contributes to the economy, and how the forest as such act as a perfect ecosystem. So inputs from economics as well as environment is needed for this one, and if you are naturally comfortable in any of these areas, you will be able to produce a decent enough essay for this one. The second one is a very peculiar kind of a question. It states, poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. Legislators means lawmakers. Now, when we say poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world, that means how a poet is able to bring new changes. When we talk about legislators, they are the people who make laws so that a change can happen in the society. In this statement, it is said that it is the poets who actually are doing this job, not officially but otherwise. So here this particular topic demands that one needs to do a historical analysis about how different poets, be it ancient India or Greek or Rome or any other country, how they were able to bring changes, how they were able to bring new waves of thoughts. In India, much more contemporary writers like Tagore or any other poets who contributed for freedom movement, who wrote against social evils like the Malayali poets Kumaranachan, all these examples one can bring in. But the thing is, one should have a good enough knowledge about history as well as literature to do full justice to this particular topic. Not many people would have taken this topic, I believe. The third one is again an interesting one. We had similar kind of topics in the past connected to history. This third topic is, history is a series of victories won by the scientific man over the romantic man. So those people who have won victories, we are talking about wars and otherwise, are more scientific minded people are always the winners. The more romantic people who are just into ideals are more or less not the winners. So this topic again needs a bit more excessive planning from the candidate side. This topic actually gives us about how one has to plan well and execute things properly and use the scientific methods and other kind of systematic planning in order to win, rather than people who just romanticize the ideas. So here one needs to bring in a lot of examples, particularly from the administration and politics, and one has to quote the examples of kings who actually were able to plan well for their country. So a lot of examples from history is needed for this topic, but not unattainable or the meaning of the topic is quite clear, but how excessively you plan and bring in examples, that will be the that will result in your marks. The fourth question is a little bit more abstract. A ship in harbour is safe, but that is not what ship is for. So this topic metaphorically talks about how important it is that one should take up challenges and keep doing things. If you are just playing safe, that's not what human beings are supposed to be. We, with our intelligence and our ability to understand and adapt and survive, has a lot more responsibility to our fellow human beings as well as towards Mother Earth and everything. So one has to venture out and do a lot of things rather than sitting idle. That's the meaning of this fourth one. So if you understood the metaphor properly, now the challenge is to bring in examples from ancient. You have to bring in examples from different fields and write them in chronological order. But this fourth one obviously requires a lot more time to plan, so one has to adjust the time as it is. Of all these four questions, I would say the forest question is a bit more easy to construct because that economic angle of forest is more factual and one will be able to structure it a bit more easy. The other three questions demand that one plan a bit more excessively, but depending on your level of knowledge and interest, you can actually take any of them. Now, let's move to the section B. Section B starts with a question called, the time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. That means it is important that one should be ready for the eventualities when the things are good. During the rainy time, one cannot repair the roof. So, one has to do it when there is sun. That's the idea. So, one could bring in the concepts of pre-planning in disaster management and how one as an administrator, one has to plan in advance and how we need to think about the future and prepare for itself. So, we could bring in a lot of stories from mythology and real life and everything. Suddenly one thought came to my mind, the story of Joseph, where he is telling that there will be 7 years of good harvest and 7 years of famine, and how one need to prepare for the famine years. So such kind of examples one can bring in. So this is actually a statement is quite symbolic, but it's not about just repairing the roof, but one has to bring in examples from different walks of life about how one need to prepare for the worst times when we are in good spirit. Now, a very interesting question here, an often repeated statement, you cannot step twice in the same river. That means nothing is permanent, nothing is as it is always, things keep changing. So, the whole essay you have to construct on this concept of change, how change is the only constant thing. So, similar kind of question has been asked in the past by UPSC related to this concept of change. So, one has to bring in this change element, but I would say that this is a bit difficult one, and one has to really sit and plan a bit more to construct a proper structure for this one. And as always, when you give examples, try to keep up maximum variety of examples, that also in chronologically. Now another very poetic kind of statement in section B, a smile is the chosen vehicle for all ambiguities. So a smile actually can act as a proper bridge between two people. So whenever we meet a stranger, the very first smile that can reduce the gap between two people. So that's the basic idea. But to write 1,000 words essay on this one could be really difficult, I would say. But that smile, so that importance of that smile being pleasant to your fellow human beings, all those those examples one has to bring in. The last one in section B is, just because you have a choice, it does not mean that any of them has to be right. So, this question about choice, that you have a choice but that may not be the right one. So, this gives you the concept of dilemma. We talk about that situation of dilemma where one has to choose between the devil and the deep sea kind of situation. So, the choices means the available choice that may not be the perfect thing. Again, one has to bring a lot of examples from different fields, be it science or administration or any other things, to give a structure to this particular one. So, I would say here the time to repair the roof when the sun is shining could be a bit more easy to handle, because at least you could bring it to, you could connect it to the disaster management and pre-preparedness and other kind of things. So, compared to last year, the questions were a bit more concrete, and I hope all of you have done well. Thank you.